Hello everyone and welcome to Metagame Mastery, where it's not just about what the card does, but how it impacts the game. Guilds of Ravnica preview season is upon us, and we finally got to see the new Tajic, as well as a reverse Yawgmoth will. If you enjoy our content, click the subscribe button so you get access to all our latest videos, and if you're looking to pre-order your booster box of Guilds of Ravnica, check out our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. Without further ado, big time! Go! Time! Tajic, Legion's Edge, is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, red and white for a 3/2 legendary human soldier with haste and mentor. He prevents all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. You can also pay a red and a white, and he gains first strike until end of turn. So this guy's an absolute limited bomb, especially in the Boros Mentor Chain style build. You can get this guy out on the board, attacking in as a 3/2 with Mentor on turn 3. That's sick. That's powerful all on its own. He also makes it so that your creatures don't die to burn, which helps in a mirror matchup. It helps against Izzet, but it also protects your own creatures from cards like Deafening Clarion, which when we first looked at Deafening Clarion, we said, oh wow, this was going to wipe out your own Boros creatures. Not if you have Tajic. And then lastly, uh, in order to give him a little bit more toughness when he's attacking in, you can pay 2 and give him first strike later on, so he has more survivability, is probably a better way of putting it. Overall, this is a whole lot on a very economical package. This could potentially even see play in standard, protecting your creatures from whirler effects. So overall, this is a solid card. Way be better upgrade from the previous version of Tajic. Light of the Legion is 6 CMC, 4 colorless, white for a 5/5 angel with flying and mentor. When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each white creature you control. So she's great. She's great in Boros, obviously. Getting a 5/5 flyer for 6 with mentor. If she survives a single turn cycle, odds are you're gonna have gotten 6 power and toughness on the board. And if for whatever reason she dies, she rewards you for having other white creatures, which is a form of resilience. This is a solid card that actually not only is going to do well in Boros, this will fit real well in the Selesnya archetype as well. I don't imagine this will see any play outside of Limited, but in that specific environment, this is a beastie. Chance for Glory is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, red and a white for an instant. Creatures you control gain indestructible. Take an extra turn after this one. At the beginning of your next turn's end step, you lose the game. So typically I don't like these Final Fortune style cards because it puts you in an all or nothing position. You have to really already have your back against the wall or be super aggressively ready to finish your opponent off for this card to have any value, which makes it pretty situational. In this case, what makes me look at this card is the fact that the indestructibility does not end at the end of turn. There is no point in which it ends as long as you continue playing the game. So if for whatever reason you have Gideon of the Trials or a Platinum Angel out and you play this, all your stuff is just indestructible, period, indefinitely. And for that reason alone, that's why I would look at this card. World Soul Colossus is X, green and white for a 0/0 elemental with Convoke. It enters the battlefield and gets X +1/+1 counters on it. So this is a way for you to cheat out a big body in limited. Basically, turn your go wide strategy into a way to get tall. And being a convoke creature that does that, I'm going to name it Chord of Talling. All jokes aside, I've never been a big fan of these. They do fine in limited, but X spells that are sorcery speed and don't really get you an immediate payoff, like don't instantly finish the game, aren't for me in constructed, with the obvious exception of Walking Ballista. But then again, with Walking Ballista, you could just remove the counters immediately. Never mind. Let's move on to the next card. Flower is once a Lesnia, which is either a green or a white for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic forest or plains card. Reveal it and put it at your hand. Then shuffle your library. Flourish is 6 CMC, 4 colorless, green and a white for a sorcery. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Okay, so on turn 1, this helps you set up, gets you mana fixing so that you know that you'll be able to play your other cards. And then turn 6, this is a great payoff for your go wide strategy, helping you just overwhelm your opponents. That said, there's a lot of dead space in there. I wish that Flourish gave you a keyword like trample. I wish that you could do anything with Flower other than just search for basic forest and plains. There's a lot of restrictions on this card, and for that reason, I feel like this is the weakest of the split cards that we've seen so far. Crawl Harpooner is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a green for a 3/2 insect warrior with reach. It also has undergrowth, and when it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target creature with flying you don't control. Crawl Harpooner gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and you may have it fight that creature. Okay, so 19 times out of 20, you're just going to be playing this card as a 3/2 reach for 2, and that's good. That's good in limited. It does have the occasional upside of killing off a flyer, especially there's a really good bird in. There's actually a couple really good birds in white that you can nix off with this thing. So that's just all upside. Good card. Crawl Foragers is 5 CMC, 4 colorless, and a green for a 4/4 insect scout with undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life for each creature card in your graveyard. Okay, so there's nothing really special about this. You're getting a 4/4 with some life gain for 5. I suppose that's fine cost-wise. It feels fair. But it's not going to make a huge impact on the board. It's definitely not going to be a bomb that wins you the game. It's just, it's curve filler. It's fine if you need something in limited. Undercity Uprising is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, black and a green for a sorcery. Creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. Then target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Okay, so this is a little dependent on your board state, but outside of that, this is sick. I mean, you could drop this, give all your creatures Death Touch, and really incentivize your opponent to not block them. And at the same time, this is a very fine removal spell. You could just take your littlest cheapy creature and have it fight their biggest, baddest creature and nix it off the board because of the Death Touch. That's great. This is a really, really solid removal spell at common in limited. Outside of that, I don't imagine that this will see any play. But in limited, wow. Charnel Troll is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, black, and a green for a 4/4 troll with trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on the troll. Otherwise, sack it. You could pay a black and a green, discard a creature card, and put a +1/+1 counter on Charnel Troll. Okay, so I dubbed the Psychotron, because this really does feel like Psychotron. It has base power toughness 4/4 and trample for only 3 mana. Wow. Now, mind you, you have to survive the first upkeep, which means you have to have something already in your graveyard to exile. And that is a little bit of a non-bow. It does take away from your undergrowth, but then you're attacking on turn 4 with a 5/5 trample that you could very likely turn into a 6/6 or more trample with the mana and cards you have in your hand. This thing's a beastie. This thing's a bomb in limited. This is a 3 mana bomb in limited. And then this could potentially see standard play. This is a really good card. Electrostatic Field is 2 CMC, 1 colorless and a red for a 0/4 wall with Defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so Guttersnipe built a wall. Like, that's it. This is fine. It's a nice little payoff for your Spells Matter deck and limited. I don't imagine it's going to see play outside of that, but it's a great way for you to clog up the board a little bit, buy yourself time, and get some incremental damage against your opponents. Experimental Frenzy is 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a red for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. You can't play cards from your hand. 3 colorless and a red, destroy Experimental Frenzy. Okay, this card's funny. I also love the flavor text. Turns out coffee is the weird aunt of invention. Oh, art imitates life. So, this card's risky, as you might expect from a red future sight, because it doesn't allow you to play cards from your hand. It doesn't allow you to play lands from your hand. It puts you in a position where you are top decking for the rest of the game, but at the same time, every card you play replaces itself. So it has the potential to get nuts, but it's also going to be super high variance. And for that reason, I don't expect it to see any significant gameplay. Devious Coverup is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, blue for an instant counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. Okay, so this is a dissolve with upside. Strictly better than cancel, especially in this format it would need to be, because there's so many cards, so many mechanics that interact with the graveyard. You don't want to just counter a spell and wind up fueling your opponent's graveyard shenanigans. So this allows you to do that while exiling that card, depriving your opponent of that resource, which is really needed. It also gives you the additional upside of keeping yourself from being milled out. Maybe getting cards that you needed that don't affect your undergrowth, that don't have jumpstart on them, shuffled back into your deck. Overall, though, it's still 4 mana, and it sure as heck ain't no Cryptic Command. I imagine it can see some play in limited, but if I'm not willing to play cancel in most of my limited decks, then this isn't going to make the cut either. It's definitely not going to see any play in constructed. Cool flavor text though. Drowned Secrets is 2 CMC, 1 colorless and blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Okay, so we've got sort of a Jace's Erasure on the cast, and paying 2 mana for an enchantment that doesn't do anything right away, it hurts in limited. So you probably don't want to play this on turn 2. You want to play this off curve, right? And this is a limited format where between Surveil, Undergrowth, Jumpstart, people are going to be burning through their decks pretty quick. And in a 40-card deck, that can be dangerous. I imagine this is a powerful card in Limited. Outside of Limited, no, it's just not that great. Manik Betrayal is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, blue and a black for a sorcery. Exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. You may cast those cards this turn. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells. At the beginning of the next end step, if any of these cards are made exiled, return them to their owner's graveyards. Exile this card. So, reverse Yawgmoth's will, right? You are doing the exact same effect, only instead of using your graveyard, you're using your opponent's. This is actually going to be really good. I imagine this first and foremost being an EDH staple because there's so many powerful cards. This is great if you have some sort of mill strategy or just you wind up playing it late game. What I envision this best being used as in a control style shell, you could counter and remove your opponent's best cards, and then all of a sudden you wind up playing them all in one big amazing turn. It does sound like Magical Christmas Land, but it's not all that difficult to pull off. I can see that happening fairly easily, so I like this card a lot. That's it for today. If you enjoy this content, click that subscribe button to get access to all our latest videos. And if you're looking to get your grubby little mitts on some Guilds of Ravnica booster box, check out our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. This has been Metagame Mastery. Peace!